All right, in the shop here, trying to get the old car ready for battle this weekend. Just doing little odds and ends, checkups on it and stuff. Just got through getting my vacuum pump put back on the car that I tore up because I didn't read the instructions right on it. So it's back in there, tucked way underneath there. It's a bitch to get on, I can tell you that, but it's there. Over here getting it ready, fixing to crank it up here in just a little bit to make sure the vacuum pump is working good. I got some pretty killer heaters on the motor. I've got two heaters on my dry sump tank here. One of them is a stick-on type, and that sucker gets hot. It's a Moroso brand. Oh, say hey, Bella. Bella, tell them hey. And then there's also a screw-in one too, but this one here don't play. This thing right here, in 15 minutes, I can actually have the oil boiling. Measured the temp last time I had it plugged up for a little bit, and that sucker got all the way up to 260 degrees. I've also got one of these stick-on ones that is actually on the bottom of the dry sump pan, just so we can get the pan a little temperature in it. Helps out a bunch. I know a lot of people think this car looks pretty good, but it's actually pretty dang ratty right now. You can see the crappy ass wires running everywhere on it. That's what happens whenever you're in a race season and you're trying to scramble to get everything where you can take the damn thing to the track. Got a little thing there, keep rocks from getting in the turbo. I do have plans that this is going to be actually a air inlet molded into the hood up here, which that's going to be a pretty good project. But it's not hurting airflow right now because there's actually over 3 inches of clearance between this and the hood, because these hoods, they bulge way up. So I've got a lot of clearance there. But yeah, it is sucking in some hot air, but methanol don't really care too much. But it's a tight fit in here because this car has a pretty short nose on it. But luckily I was able to get a nice radiator. And this thing stays good and cool too. I noticed last weekend at the track, I'd make a pass, and I've got it set up where the the water pump will come on at wide open throttle. So when I'm going down the track, I know there's water circulating in the motor, so there's no hot spots. But I notice whenever I come back, shut the car off, turn the ignition on, you know, the temperature won't even be up to the 155 degrees that it takes before everything turns on automatically. But it'll sit there for a minute, and then all of a sudden the temperature will creep up a little bit, and the pump and fan will kick on for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then have the temperature down, so it just maintains around 155 degree engine temp throughout the day. And I also use my oil heater. I'm a big fan of making sure the oil is up to temperature. I think that may have something to do with, you know, some people's rods that may break. So knock on wood, I've been pretty lucky over the years as far as having any aluminum rods break. I really haven't had any, but I always make sure, all of my engines have always had all kinds of oil heaters on it. So I've got this where I keep it heated up. Even if I'm at the track between rounds, I keep one of the lower powered heater hooked up just to make sure that I keep the oil warm at all times. And I don't ever try to overly cool the motor. I like to keep a little bit of temperature in it. But so far everything's been working good. You can see the notorious vertical mounted turbo that just throws everybody for a loop. Got my wastegate right on the housing, and that actually works pretty good too. I mean, it's straight in flow with the exhaust, so haven't had any problems. I mean, I've actually made a full pass with on just a super light gate spring, and it only made 1.6 pounds of boost all the way through, even up into the, you know, upper 7,000 RPM. So apparently it must be flowing pretty good. Let's see. Oh, I'm gonna show y'all something kind of cool on my Max ECU. It's got a cool feature where any Android device it'll Bluetooth to, and it'll allow you to really program the screen however you want it. I mean, you can set it, change gauges, change the size of gauges, you know, to basically anything that the ECU reads. So I got all my basic stuff here. My battery voltage, throttle position, oil, coolant, vacuum, coolant PSI, oil temperature, trans temperature, which oil temperature sensor, something is wrong with. It should be way more than that. I've got to, I guess, put a new sensor on it. it's changing with temperature, but that's not right. Another thing pretty cool is you got two different displays, and there's my secondary one where I got all my EGTs. And check this out, it has touch on off for some of the ECU outputs. So I got my transmission pump. I'm not sorry, that's my turbo pump. That's the pump that works the drain on the turbo. Got my fuel pump, and I actually got a little gauge so I can see what it's doing. That's just my primer pump, but it works good. Then I got my water pump. My fan. And my trans cooler setup. It's loud as hell, but it's going to serve its purpose. Actually, two purposes. It cools the heck out of the transmission, even with the engine not running, which is great. And that way, after I make a pass at the end of the track, I can flip it on and be cooling my transmission before I get back to the pits. So that's going to be beneficial there. And plus, since it sucks air from inside the car and blows it outside the car after a burnout, this thing, it has a lot of areas that smoke come in. So that thing can suck the tire smoke out pretty good. Yeah, see, my wiring's getting pretty shitty in here. It's jumbled up because I've just been adding and adding and adding. But if I can make it through this season, my plans are to redo the whole wiring on the car. And I'm going to make a panel over here to put all the wiring. And I'm going to put my factory dash back in. I've got a factory dash that will go right back in here. So that way all of my wiring can be hid behind the dash. I'm also going to clean up the passenger area so that I can put another seat back in it like it originally used to have. So if I wanted to take a little cruise, I can. Because now with this LS with the coolant system on it, and I've got plans on adding a radiator pretty soon, it's going to be pretty drivable. At the track, I drive it up to the staging lanes, make my pass, and drive it all the way back to the pits, and don't have any problem with that at all. Get out of here. Another big plan I got over the winter time is I'm tired of these small tire races that throw the rule out there, no tube chassis. I mean, what does a tube chassis have an advantage over, let's just say, a Mustang with all the tubular front end and all that bullshit? So I got big plans for the winter time. I'm actually going to cut the whole front off of the car from the firewall forward, and I'm going to put another factory front end on it. So I'm going to have the factory firewall, factory frame rails. Then I'll tie all of my cage and stuff into it so that nobody can say anything whenever I want to run these small tire classes that say no full tube chassis. In my opinion is most cars that are running are technically full tube chassis. So what that the front end bolts on there doesn't make any difference. I mean, this car, the lower control arms are in factory bolt positions. The upper strut connection is in the factory spot, but still I get kicked out because it's still technically a full tube chassis car. So I had plans on getting that taken care of. Whew. Anyway, it's starting to get pretty dang hot, so it's about time to fire this sucker up. Check it out, make sure that my vacuum pump works good this time. Like I said, I screwed it up the last time because I didn't read the damn instructions, and I screwed a fitting in that screwed in too far, and it knocked out the carbon blades in there. So that was my mistake. I was in a hurry like usual. But anyway, get this thing ready. Hopefully I can hit the track this weekend. As of right now, my plans are to go to the Ozark race, this nice little small tire race. It's been a long time since I've been there, so I'm looking forward to possibly getting up there and making some small tire rounds. Anyway, that's about it.